played basketball at, well, I would say I played basketball in high school with John Wall at Word of God Christian Academy.
Mhm.
I played at Morehead State in college, and I played professionally overseas for a couple seasons, and then I started my basketball training company. I would say probably a decade ago, 10 years ago now, and basically just I guess you would say sample size of my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And you
uh,
primarily work with high schoolers, pros. What type of?
any age, anybody that
Okay,
wants to get better,
I
from
love it. I love
5
it.
to 75.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I love it. And I remember a while back you had a guy in your story who was like up in that around that age,
I
right?
did, I did, I
Yeah,
did.
that's
Mr.
cool.
Riley, that's my guy. Yeah,
One of the things that I think that honestly, well, one of the things that drew me towards just training athletes is not necessarily because I wanted to have athletes, but I wanted just honestly a motivated clientele.
mhm,
So,
yeah,
and I love. I'll be honest, and I know you and I have chatted a little bit about this. I love the high school level.
yeah,
I love the high school level. Just
yeah,
the impression that you can make on kids,
yeah,
and just how open their minds are.
yeah. I would say that would be my favorite too. Between late middle school, so like between eighth and like the summer before they leave for college. That's probably my favorite.
That's a fun time. Yeah, that's definitely a fun time. Well, Milton, a lot of people, are, aware of your ability to kind of break down plays and really kind of, hey, be very detail oriented,
Yeah.
with how you break things down, getting into, when is that dribble pickup actually occurring,
Mm,
and when do we count those steps? And honestly, I think you opened my eyes when I think you really kind of pushed this probably, I think it was right around 2019 or so.
yeah, 2019.
And just kind of seeing you break it down, it was like, oh, okay. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of things my eyes weren't seeing.
yeah.
So it was really cool. Now, and I think you really have kind of made a name for yourself in terms of being a guy who's so detail oriented and so good at breaking down footwork.
Yeah.
Now we have guys like SGA,
Hmm.
Luka,
Hmm.
Joker, who are guys honestly very. I think their footwork is pretty top notch just from my end of things. Do you feel like that is kind of the future or the next big step that Hoopers will be taking in the
Hmm.
future?
Most definitely. I think if you think about the best players in the game, the overwhelming majority of them have great feet. And it's especially in today's game where I know we highlight the three a lot, and rightfully so. Um, that's really just how the game plan is built according to analytics. But when you think about getting to the basket, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times you can't just rely on just pure athleticism. You can't just go down and dunk every time, well, unless you're Giannis. But
Right.
even Giannis has to, get creative and use his footwork. He has pretty decent footwork as well. But I think when you get in the paint and you're able to come to a stop, you're able to make sound decisions, and that makes you a lot tougher to guard.
Mm,
Use
definitely.
your feet to get to spots, and whether I step through or step away or reverse pivot, being crafty and being smart and making the right read, um, and just being patient, it'll help you make the right read when you get into
Yeah.
the paint.
No, I definitely understand where you're coming from on that, and I think the guy who I always think of that if it's ever like an NBA guy who's working on their footwork, one of the guys who always stands out to me is Hakeem.
Yep.
Hakeem is always the guy that Dwight Howard worked with,
Yeah.
Kobe worked with, LeBron,
Yep.
everyone. When you talk about
Wendy just worked
those,
with them as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like there's a good example of someone who had elite footwork and it's transcended.
Yeah.
There's a skill that is really transcended 30, well, gosh, we're going into almost 40 years ago.
Yep.
And it's impressive that people are still going back and looking at the tape of someone like him
Yeah.
to
It's just
improve their abilities.
it just lets you know how important having a solid foundation is, and I feel like that is the case in every area of our lives. You know, you have to have a solid foundation on the basic principles, and then you add layers to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know from our side, with more the lifting and athletic development side, honestly, for us, obviously we talked about basic movement and making sure that the movement is right, but so much of that is based in the feet, and that's kind of where I've been drawn to your content
Hmm.
is getting, hey, you see basic stuff like a squat, or you see basic stuff like, an RDL or a clean or something like that. And how do we bridge that gap with other stuff to make sure that the footwork on your side is smoother, is make it
Yeah.
a little bit more. And so that's kind of where, like, on our side of things, it's not even just, what steps you can take, but how the foot hits the ground.
Yeah.
And I think you and I had talked about this before, where depending on if your heel hits the ground first,
Hmm.
or your midfoot,
Hmm.
or the forefoot, that front of the foot,
Hmm.
can not just dictate speed and power. So if that
Hmm.
heel hits the ground first, you're going to naturally slow down,
Yep.
versus mid or forefoot, you're going to either maintain speed or speed up. But it
Yep.
also dictates how much stress that we put on the body. And more specifically,
Hmm.
kind of the one that stands out the most for probably most players is the knee.
Yeah.
And when we hit that forefoot, and I see this so much, I see this so much just at all levels,
Hmm.
where guys are trying to, do a drag stop, and they go straight into their toes, and it puts a lot of stress on the kneecap.
Yeah.
And when
When
we
that when
put
that
that,
knee goes over toe, right?
yeah, and then when that knee goes even further,
Yeah.
um, there's two things that actually came from this. One is we talk about from mechanics, just from a health standpoint. Well, it puts a
Hmm.
lot of stress on the knee. But the second thing that actually goes into it, it's actually slower. And we measured this
Yeah.
with about 100 guys, where we measured, hey, if your heel hits the ground first versus that forefoot hits the ground first, it is actually slower to go straight into your toes.
Yeah.
And that was something that was very interesting for us. So, just how footwork gets into, just from a performance standpoint, from athleticism.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things that I know is a big deal, I know footwork is, because college coaches talk about it, playing off of 2 feet when we get into the lane.
Hmm.
But one of the other things that is kind of a big deal is, we hear this terminology, basketball strength.
Hmm.
Um, what in your mind, or how, in your words, how would you describe basketball strength?
Um. So for me, that that term is a bit different because, like, for me, I think we have this thing where we think, well, or where we say, or where people say, you know, your body control versus your weight room strength. I would say,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think it's important to just be overall strong
yeah.
and to know how to translate it over to the court.
Gotcha,
That's what I would
gotcha.
say. As
Okay.
far as being basketball strong, that's what I would think basketball
Yeah,
strong is. It's
yeah,
how you apply it from my perspective. And from
yeah,
your perspective, I'm sure it may be different.
yeah. So when you say apply it into the game, kind of what
Mhm.
moments do you think of in the game?
So I would say the physical moments, I would say the explosive movements, I would say um, definitely the physical moments, knowing how to use a shoulder bump, how to use the defender's momentum
Mm,
against them, knowing when and where and how to use them. So when I think about strength, I think about applying it in situations like that.
mm. Okay. So it sounds like there's, like you said, kind of using the opponent's strength against their own or their weight against
Yep.
themselves,
Yep.
it almost sounds like it's there's some skill involved.
Yep. Yep.
So, obviously you talk about the bumps and the physicality of it, but there's
Mhm.
also just being able to leverage
Yeah.
yourself and being
Yeah.
able to, how do you use the momentum of another player against them?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you did one breakdown, and I really loved this because I think this really it definitely opened up my eyes to
Mhm.
what is a foul and what isn't a foul. When you were
Mhm.
talking about with Shea, he and everyone was getting so upset because he was
Oh
getting
yeah.
free throw merchant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to, hey, he understands the rule to a high level, and
Yeah.
he's using that to his advantage. Like that's the game.
That's the game.
And right there, it felt like exactly what we were talking about, where he was using the opponent's, leveraging the opponent's, size or momentum or whatever to
Mhm.
his favor.
And most people would look at Shea and look at his body type and believe or think that he's not a strong player,
Yeah.
in which that's not the case.
No.
That's not the case.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I worked with a number of guys who play at the NBA level, including Amari Stoudemire and Mario Chalmers, and
Mhm.
seeing those guys lift during sessions, like
Mhm.
they're not like football builds,
Yeah. Yeah.
but those guys are strong.
Yeah,
Holy
man.
cow!
Yeah.
Holy cow! Those guys are strong. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember seeing these guys, dumbbell bench on a ball, on a stability ball with like 100-pound dumbbells, and you're just like,
Oh yeah, that's tough.
that's
Sheesh.
crazy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is. That's tough.
So yeah, so for a guy like Shea, and I know his I actually know his strength trainer. I've known him for quite a while, and I
Hmm.
know he's not a weak guy by any means, no matter what he looks like.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about that,
Hmm.
Shea's ability
Hmm.
to kind of really be kind of a good maybe example of having that basketball strength.
Yeah.
How do you think that can help, or how do you think younger players, maybe who don't have access to you or who don't have access to someone who understands that on the court, the skill of that on a court,
Hmm.
what should they be thinking about, or what details should they be focusing on to develop it in their own game?
To develop the actual skill itself, or to develop that
Yeah,
strength.
either one.
The skill itself. I think this is missing. And I say this, but I think you need direction in every area, whether it be on the court
Yeah.
or learning how to watch film, because watching film is how you really break down the game to a
Hmm.
science and how you really get a deeper understanding. Watching skill in slow motion and watching movement patterns in slow motion can really help you um, have a deeper understanding of like what's actually going on this play.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of details and a lot of things happen so fast. You notice the highlight play, or you notice how the offensive player shifts in one direction, but like, what is
Yeah.
it? What is he doing to shift his weight to that direction to make the defender believe he's going in a different direction than he really is, and then change the direction. So it's like I think watching film is important. I think the healthy balance of watching film, getting work in on your own, and finding someone that you can talk to for guidance in basketball, because like the way kids have trainers, they have me, they have access to you,
Mhm.
and they can lean on us.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone in your corner that can really teach you the game, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's very,
Yeah.
very tough.
Yeah. I agree 100%, and that's and it gets more increasingly tougher in this day and age, just because I think the just from when I played and seeing my brothers played, and even before that, um,
Hmm.
I think the amount of competition at the middle school, high school level is higher than it's ever been,
Oh
and the
man, it's way
and the
different.
Oh, it's so different, right?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
amount of work that these kids put in on a daily
Mm-hmm.
basis, it's
Mm-hmm.
wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it blows me away because you look at some of these guys who put in this amount of work and you're just blown away by it and you're just like wow, that's, and you're still playing in a sense sometimes catch up.
Yeah.
But I think some of the kind of the difference maker at times is some of these things that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
One, having someone who can truly guide you
Yeah, man.
in understanding the game,
Yeah.
from a basketball standpoint, but also just
Mm-hmm.
from a strength standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watching, breaking down film. I think that might be the one of the most underrated things because I
Yeah.
hear about these guys.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to work out in the morning. I got to work out right after school, and then I have work out at night. 3 workouts in a day, like 7 days a week, and not once do I hear, "Hey, what'd you do last night after after your practice or after your workout or something like that?" And it's going either straight into video games or just doing dumb stuff or. And there's never, rarely do I ever hear, "Oh, I watched film."
Right. And now you're relying on experience only and you chase playing games, but you're still not playing the right way.
Yeah,
So it's like if if you're a guard, you should be watching a player on the next level that you feel like you have a similar build to, similar
mm,
skill set to, or somewhere, someone that you can be like, okay, I can kind of model my game or take this from his game.
yeah,
And you watch this guy from the college level. It's not always helpful to watch an NBA guy because they
hmm,
have different leashes. And in college basketball, it's just not played the same.
yeah,
And to feel like you're gonna have the ball the majority of the possession to kind of do what you want to do, that's not how it works. So I think it's important to watch the next level up, find a solid player. You can watch some NBA guys because I think a lot of small guards could really benefit watching TJ McConnell, watching Peyton Pritchard,
hmm,
watching Andrew
yeah,
Nemhard, and really taking things from these guys, especially the smaller guards, especially as you're when you're younger. Like I think separator for smaller guards is guarding 94 feet.
yeah,
Like nobody wants to do it.
no,
And no guard wants to deal with that every night, especially not in high school. So
no,
like you would really stand out and you would bring more energy to your team by
yeah,
keeping that point guard out of the paint or getting them frustrated. And it may not work so well in the first quarter when everybody's fresh, but as
right.
that game goes on,
Oh yeah, that's a
it it it,
separator.
it is. It's a
Yeah,
separator, and the mental aspect of it will make that point guard want to get off the ball.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And now
yeah,
you're throwing off their offense. So now you're wreaking havoc, and that's what you should be able to do. That's how you get a leg up on your competition. And notice I didn't say anything offensively.
no, no, you're right, you're right. And it's interesting you say that because I think one of the, on our side of things with like the strength and athletic development and all those things, well, I think everyone talks about vertical, and and I'll even mention, I even put it in my profile, but when it comes to the things
I
that are
like I like
actually
I
just,
like vertical training though. I'm
yeah,
just not a
no,
I'm just
it's
not a fan of
important.
getting
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna go get on the Vertimax and that's gonna get me. Nah, I
right.
think
There's
you
so
have
much
to
more
be
to it.
taught how to jump. You have to be taught how to jump right left or jump left right or jump off of
Yeah,
your right leg versus your left leg, and like you have to be able to do that and do it properly.
yeah,
And like for me, and I'm not saying this just because I'm an older guy, but like I never even thought about using a Vertimax. I never used anything.
yeah,
I literally did weight training, and that's
yeah,
how I developed my jumping ability. And I would lower the rim. Well, actually, I would, at some points in time, I used to lower the rim and just practice dunking off my
yeah,
right leg, practice dunking off my left hand, and
yes,
get my
yes,
timing down. And
yes,
then I would raise it higher, whether I'm failing a million times, but I would try dunk attempts and just try different things. And that's how I kind of developed. Like I can jump off my right leg just like I
yeah.
jump off my left leg, and I can jump right left just like I jump off left right. And not a lot of people can do that.
Nope. I had, we had a guy who, and I remember we started working with him, and I always tell this story just because this kid, really just locked in for about 12 to 15 months, and
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't even a D3 athlete, really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
um, and he locked in. He really locked into everything that we talked about
Mm-hmm.
from a strength standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, from a skill standpoint. And we had a good relationship with his skills coach, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And by not only did he go from no offers at the D3 level to getting multiple offers at the D2 level and going on to play Division 2 basketball, but he
Mm-hmm.
was, one of the things that we always work on is like, hey, you've got to be as strong off your quote unquote weak leg as you have
Yep.
to with your other leg. And
Yep.
that's something we really focus on, is developing from a single leg standpoint both
Mm-hmm.
sides.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of his high school career, he could dunk off of every footwork, left,
That's
right, right,
it.
left, and left, right.
That's
And
it.
that's what we do with guys, is
Yeah.
because we realize that, hey, you may not get your what the moment calls for in the game may not be your best, position, or the most, advantageous to what you're used to.
Yep.
So either a, how do you make it advantageous?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that comes into that footwork and setting up players, and that's where you have to understand and how to break down film. um, but the second side is develop
Yep.
everything.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
So
I'm the same way footwork wise, the same way you teach,
yeah,
being able to jump in all different ways. I teach that and get into a jump shot because I mean,
yeah,
you don't know what situation is going to present itself, and you
hmm,
want to be prepared for whatever footwork situation it is. Whenever I come to a stop, it doesn't matter if it's a jump stop, it doesn't matter if it's an inside outside or outside inside.
yes,
I can get to that spot comfortably and shoot the ball no matter what. And
yeah,
it's like telling a player, okay, this is what you do. You get to this spot and shoot it. That's not detailed enough for me because I
hmm,
want you to understand exactly what you're doing.
yeah,
So I'm coming into a traditional stagger stop. So that's inside outside.
hmm,
Or I'm getting into more of like a hesitation footwork with my outside inside. Or I'm getting to a jump stop. As soon as my feet hit the floor, I'm right back up into my jump
right,
stop or my floater. And it's important that you know and you understand that I need all of these
yes,
equally because you don't know what the game is going to present you, and you want to be
right,
you need all of it.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's it's so cool because we can talk about it from like it's almost like a chess standpoint, right?
Yep.
What exact move do you need, and understanding all the scenarios.
Yeah.
And you talked about, if you can't watch film of yourself, maybe watch players that, you maybe emulate a little bit more.
Yep.
And I know for me, when I was growing up and everything like that, I went from a center position to a guard position because from about I was the tallest guy in seventh grade at about 6 foot, and I didn't grow after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so I had to go freshman year, I was guard. And
Mm.
so I had to learn. I was like, how do I do this? I have
Yeah.
no idea how to do this.
Yeah.
And this was the early days of a skills trainer. You had to know someone of someone of someone to find out about a skills trainer.
Hmm.
So I was going to one about once every 2 weeks, but in between, I was watching film on people who's like, all right, I don't know how to be a guard, so maybe I'm not going to be the most athletic guy. So
Hmm.
who in the NBA maybe doesn't look the most athletic, or get them, maybe isn't the most athletic, but still gets so much out of their game. And the two guys who I really paid attention to a lot were Steve Nash and Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce
Hmm.
is not the most athletic dude, but yet somehow I always noticed he always just
Yeah.
created separation
He
on his
did.
shot. And
Yeah. He
that
did.
that fascinated me so much, and that's kind of where I got into the footwork on there.
Hmm.
And then with Steve Nash, just changing pace.
Yep.
He wasn't the fastest guy, but he was so good at just slowing down, speeding things up. And I mean that in itself took the proper footwork.
Yeah. It did. It did. And keeping that dribble alive. That's what Nash did a great job of. Even if he drove along that baseline, he didn't panic. He kept that
Mm.
dribble alive and just kept it moving until
Yes.
he was ready to make a play or ready to get off the ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and I think that's something that you know, like you said, there's just so many different details, and to just not even watch what those details are,
Yeah. That's crazy.
you're missing out.
Yeah. You're missing out. you're
You're
missing
missing
out.
out, missing
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So if you're, if you're a hooper, or you're talking to a young hooper who
Hmm.
you can't do any work with,
Hmm.
what are the maybe top two things that you do tell them, or what details do you want them to focus on the most?
Master your feet. Understand what's legal to do to start your dribble. What's not legal to do.
Yeah.
Master your footwork when you come to a stop. Understanding what's legal to do when you come to a stop and what's not legal to do when you come to a stop. I think working on something blindly, not knowing if it's legal or not, makes no sense. So I think starting at the baseline of at least trying to read the rules, at least trying to understand what's going on, and then laying your foundation. It starts with your feet. Can't play basketball without your feet. So even when it comes to shooting, your footwork has to be right. When it comes to playing defense, your footwork has to be right. Your feet too skinny, or you play the wrong angles, you're gonna get blown by. You're not going to be low and strong enough to be able to stay in front. So I think that's why I got into footwork and I wanted to get a deeper understanding because I realized that that's literally the foundation of you as a player.
Hmm.
It's the foundation of you as a player. Everything that you do requires you to have proper footwork. So
Yeah.
I would say start with rip throughs. I would say start with catch and shoot footwork
Hmm.
and start with uh, two dribble pull ups and two dribbles getting into the paint, coming to a stop on 2 feet and making decisions.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it sounds simple, right?
But yeah,
But to do it at a high level
yeah,
requires
it's
a
tough.
ton of work,
It does.
ton of
It
work.
does. It does.
And that's something that I've had conversation with so many people who, have either taken guys to, from a high school to D1 level or maybe even beyond, or people who are at those higher levels.
Yeah.
Is they say this, it's really quote unquote simple at the end of the day, but the
Yeah.
amount of work and the focus on those details is what really makes it tough.
100%.
So
100%.
well, awesome. Milton, I really appreciate you doing this live.
Yeah,
And
for
I know
sure,
we'll
bro.
be chatting a lot more.
Definitely.
And I'll be. I know. I think I'll be making a trip down there to you here in
Yeah.
the next few months. So definitely would love to chat it up more then,
Yeah.
and just honestly get a chance to learn from you even more, just to help guys, and hopefully I can provide some useful knowledge for your own guys.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And I appreciate you, bro. I love having conversations with people that really love what they do. A lot of people do things for monetary benefit, which I understand. We have families, we have needs, we have things that we have to take care of. But I think when you're doing what you're doing and you have a purpose behind it and you really want to help people and you really genuinely want to see people win and and really reach their goals for themselves and not for yourself, I think that's commendable on your side. I think it's you know, why God put us here and why God put us in the positions that He has.
Yeah,
And I think it's extremely important for us to stop looking at players and stop looking at clients like business opportunities and treat them like people.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
100%.
salute to you,
100%.
bro. Thank you
Thank you
for
so
the
much.
opportunity to talk, and
Sure.
we'll definitely be talking soon.
For sure, for sure. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good rest of your evening, and
Yes, sir.
we'll be in touch.
All right, brother.